Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a little bit something different, not a tutorial or a app review or any of those things. Today I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. Something I'll probably do from time to time. Something that doesn't quite fit on the podcast, but will is kind of a standalone topic where I can just kind of sit here and ramble for 10 or 15 minutes about something that I think is going wrong on Linux. The topic for today is audio on Linux. Now, if you've ever watched Brian Lunduke, or if you've ever paid attention to me on Brian Lunduke, you'll know that I have many problems with the man. The man has lost his color. I'm not quite sure why he does all of his videos in black and white. It's something I've missed. I'm sure he said something on his channel about why he does that. It bothers me a lot because it makes all of his Linux activism look like it's all old-fashioned. But that's beside the point. He does a series called Linux Sucks, and something he's done for a long time. One of the things he says over and over again, and especially in the early ones, is that audio on Linux is bad. And when I talk about audio, I mean connecting audio of different forms. So, specifically in this day and age, it's Bluetooth that shows the biggest pain in the ass for most people. And the reason why I bring up the Linux Sucks things by Lunduke is that it hasn't really changed. The situation has been bad for years, and it's still bad. And while it's not as bad as it used to be, I mean, it used to be audio drivers and just hell to try to get audio to work at all on your computer. Since the introduction of Pulse Audio, at least that problem has gone away. But there are still problems, and one of them is Bluetooth, and it's not an easy problem to fix. So if you want to connect a thing on Bluetooth, how would you go about doing it? In Windows, you have one way of doing it. You open up the Bluetooth menu and you click pair or whatever, and you're good to go. Now, not that Windows doesn't have its own problems with Bluetooth, but they have that one central thing. The problem with Linux is that because of the fragmentation in Linux, every distro, every desktop environment does audio a little bit different. Even if they all use Pulse Audio or alternatively ALSA or whatever it's called, they all do it a little bit differently. So I'm here on i3, and it uses Pulse Audio, and it looks like this. This is PAVU control. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, PAVU control. It's basically just a GUI front end for Pulse Audio. And if your audio is put in, like via a USB or a audio jack or whatever, it works fine. If it doesn't, if you're connecting it via Bluetooth, that's where it ends up problems, because there's nothing in PAVU control about connecting things to Bluetooth. This is just where something that is connected to Bluetooth shows up. So this isn't an all-in-one application for audio, because you have a separate Bluetooth controller for that. And if you're using something like i3, chances are you use Bluetooth CTL, and that's what this little gem is. And I'll zoom in on that. And that means you have to be familiar with Bluetooth CTL. Alternatively, there is a GUI front end for Bluetooth if you don't have something that's provided by your desktop environment. So the point is, every single thing you use, whether you're a window manager or a desktop environment, does this differently, and it does it to varied success depending on which tool they use. So I'm just going to focus on i3. i3 doesn't, like most window managers, doesn't come with any front end to connect Bluetooth devices. None at all. You have to install these things yourself. So I believe you have to install Bluetooth CTL yourself. You have to install PAVU control yourself. Half the time you have to install Pulse Audio yourself, especially if you're building from scratch on Arch, that's for sure. And this isn't it's just not a great experience because that's the way you have to do it on this. Now, if you're like KDE or GNOME or whatever, they each have their own separate settings GUIs that allow you to connect via Bluetooth. But again, your mileage may vary. And the reason why is because Bluetooth itself is a proprietary standard. I believe it's owned by Intel. I might be wrong on that. Actually, it might not be. I think there's actually like a consortium or whatever, the same people that do Wi-Fi, maybe. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that. All I know for sure is that it's proprietary technology, and because it's proprietary, there's no easy way for Linux to get a hold of the best way of doing things. So we've seemed to have had to come up with workarounds, and each little distro or each little solution has to come up with their own way of doing things, and it's a bloody mess. It's not a great experience. And the reason why this is a problem is because Bluetooth headphones are becoming more and more prevalent as the headphones jacks disappears off all the phones. So the more people use Bluetooth headphones on their phones, the more they're going to want to use them on their computer. And as it stands right now, it's not a great experience for anybody, no matter what distro you use, no matter what desktop environment you use. It's just not a good experience. And this is a problem because, like I said, people want to use Bluetooth headphones. Like, I have a pair here, and I have them on, or I'm putting them on right now, and they're connected. Oops, as you can see, I just bumped the microphone with them. And it's great. But I've had to jump... Christ. I put them on, and then all of a sudden, now I can't. I keep hitting them with the microphone with them. Anyways, I've had to jump through hoops to get them to connect. So originally, I would use a Rofi script. So I have a... I don't actually have it anymore, but there's a Rofi script that allowed me to go through and connect via... connect up my Bluetooth headphones. And it just didn't work. I'd had to go through and I had to turn off Bluetooth, turn it back on, connect the device manually. It was 3 or 4 steps, and it was a terrible experience. Now that's not necessarily a Bluetooth problem. That's more that Rofi script or whatever was having a problem. So I stopped using that and started using Bluetooth CTL, and this is the command I have to use every single time I want to connect my Bluetooth headphones. And I have that actually. So like I have that binded to a key binding here in SXHKD, but that only works after Bluetooth has been turned on. So if I've just restarted my computer, Bluetooth doesn't come on automatically like it does on the vast majority of desktop environments, because i3 is weird that way. So I have to go through and turn on Bluetooth first and stuff like that. So in a couple of weeks, I have on the editorial calendar, I'm gonna create a bash script that I can run every time I hit Super Shift B. That will go through, check to see if Bluetooth is on. If it's not, turn it on, and then it will go through and connect to these headphones. As you can see from that process, that's just a pain in the ass. It should just be one simple button. And now I can understand if it was just i3. Like if it was just the window managers, that's fine, because window managers are minimal. They're not supposed to come with all the tools that a desktop environment comes with. And the bitching here I'm doing would be pointless. But the problem exists still on desktop environments. It's just you have GUI solutions to the things I'm talking about, but those GUI solutions don't always work. It's hit or it gets exponentially harder when you're talking about other Bluetooth devices like controllers and stuff. So if you watch like a YouTube channel, but like EGEE, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but he's a longtime Linux YouTuber. He goes through and does distro reviews, and gaming reviews, and coding and stuff. And one of the things in his distro delve series that he always looks at is the how his Bluetooth controller will connect. And if you go through and do a summary of, or a survey of all of his distro delves, you'll see that about 40% of the time, maybe a little bit more, his controller just won't work. And these are on modern distros that people use, and that's just unacceptable in these day and age. Now I understand we kind of transitioned to bitching about from audio to Bluetooth, but it's all the same kind of problem. So maybe the title of this should be "The Bluetooth Sucks on Linux," but it's still all kind of all connected. It's the connecting to the computer of certain devices, specifically audio devices, wirelessly, and it's just a pain in the ass. So the question is, what's the solution? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a tech, I'm not a developer of any sort, of any fashion or flavor. I'm not even close. I could do some HTML. That's about my limits when it comes to quote unquote coding. But so I don't know what the solution is. It's possible that we just need to say it's not a good idea for every single distro to do their own thing anymore. This is the Bluetooth standard. This is what we're all going to use across all distros. And then we can put the entire community into fixing that problem instead of having several pockets of the community doing their own thing that don't work half the time, if that makes sense. So maybe that's the solution. Anyways, just a quick little rant. If you really like this, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, give us a thumbs down. Subscribe. All that stuff, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.